The media are shaking in their boots. I mean, could you believe? I don't know how to characterize it. Just the desperation that Morning Joe, Joe Scarborough, and Mika Brzezinski exhibited by traveling to Mar-a-Lago and kissing the ring. And I wonder what they hope to achieve. It was such clearly an act of desperation. I guess if you frame it in its most positive light, it was okay, you win, we lose. We're going to play nice now. Can we all get along? Well, the fact is, we just don't know. The only people who really know are Morning Joe, Mika, President Trump, and whoever else he had in the room. Very little has actually come out about the meeting, but they have gotten as deep into the gutter for the last 8 years and are responsible for much of the animosity that people feel towards Trump, that of anyone in the mainstream media. You can't put David Muir in the same category. David Muir had a bigger stage and a more compelling reason to behave as a journalist. At least Morning Joe and Mika don't make any bones that they're not news people, they're editorialists. And so, but David Muir went to that debate as a moderator, as a journalist, yet he became a part of the debate. He became an advocate for Harris. Their ratings have tumbled. Well, so have Morning Joe's ratings tumbled. But if they thought they were going to go there and save their hide by playing nice with Trump, they made a horrible miscalculation because they'd already alienated their audience who have already left them, that are not coming back. I mean, I used to watch Morning Joe occasionally just so I could intellectually receive information that maybe the other side would present, and I could at least consider what they were saying. Invariably, when I would go and listen, I would get so turned off and so aggravated because what they were saying were lies. Like when they would call Trump, analogize him to Hitler, or call him a fascist, or when they would be disparaging towards MAGA people and call them extremists. And after the Madison Square Garden rally, they were analogizing it to the Nazi rally held in Madison Square Garden in the 40s. I mean, these are just damnable lies that they would tell. And so they had already alienated people like you and me that consider themselves MAGA, although I don't consider myself an extremist unless you consider worshiping God, believing in the flag, believing in the Ten Commandments and the Bible as extremist conditions, unlike Harris, who said that when the kids at her rally said, Jesus is Lord, she said, oh, no, you're at the wrong rally. You're supposed to be at the one down the street. I mean, if that doesn't tell it all, I don't know what does. So, a big part of MSNBC, who I love to refer to as MSNBS, had already lost about half their audience in an absolute last ditch show of desperation. They go to Mar-a-Lago to kiss and make up. And what did they do? They alienate another large percent of the Harris loyalists who feel now betrayed by Scarborough and his wife Brzezinski, and they turn off the show. So now what does Comcast, who owns NBC and CNBS, what do? They start looking for somebody to buy them because they're toast. They no longer have a sustainable business model. And what I want to say to our listeners today, the fight is not over. We have just begun to fight. If you are one of the people in Pennsylvania who have not voted in the last several elections, but came back to vote this time, if you are a Black who voted Republican, maybe for the first time, because you want freedom of speech, you want criminal justice reform, you don't want to be taken for granted. or if you're an Hispanic and you don't want millions of new Hispanics to come and compete for your jobs that you've held for the last 10 years, and you came out and voted, or if you're a suburban housewife or an independent or a moderate Democrat who for the first time voted Republican because you believe in the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, and you want honest, free, fair elections. That's what this Republican Party stands for. If you don't like inflation, if you don't want two wars, one in the Ukraine and one in the Middle East, and a third brewing over China's attempt to take back Taiwan, then you got to vote Republican. But just realize the deep state, permanent Washington, they're still there. They are going to continue to try and force their policies on the American people. We have only begun to fight. Freedom cannot be a 1 month exercise every 4 years. It has got to be a consistent, unrelenting pursuit of happiness and pursuit of freedom and pursuit of the American dream, where you're free to worship and you're free to voice your opinion without fear of government reprisals. On that note, I'm going to end the show today talking about Tim Rogers, who we had on the show last week. And I hope you were able to tune in. If you were not, all of our past shows are on rumble.com. If you go there and search for The Truth with John Gordon, they will all come up and you can hear last week's show. Now, Tim Rogers is a guy who has been fighting for the freedom of January 6th political prisoners. And he authored two books, one known as American Gulag Chronicles, The Art of Confinement, and another, Letters from Prison. And if you listened to the show last week, you know that I said that if you will write me at John Gordon Truth at gmail.com, I'll send you a book. If you're among the first to respond, I bought a number of books. I'm already giving one away to Jean and one away to Suzanne, both of whom are devoted listeners who back channel me all the time, critique the show, give me ideas for future shows, and I thank you so much. But they emailed me immediately. So their copies are on their way to me, and I will forward them to them. But you too can get a copy. But more importantly, I really want our listeners to take the time to write to your representatives, encourage them to help Donald Trump pardon the J6 political prisoners, many of whom, hundreds of whom, are rotting away in jail to this day, not having been indicted, and they are being held political prisoners. To me, January 6th was one of the lowest days in American history, not because of the march on the Capitol and people exercising their right to free speech, because of the aftermath of J6, because of the murder of Ashley Babbitt. And I hope that the truth behind why Michael Byrd drew his service revolver and shot and killed that American veteran in cold blood, who was a threat to no one, I hope the facts will come to life. I want to know who Ray Epps was, who he is, whose payroll he was on January the 6th. I want it to come out. I want all these secrets of the deep state to be exposed. Sunshine is the best disinfectant. I want to cleanse America. I want the secrets to come out. And we can start with the J6 fiasco and freeing the J6ers. Tim Rogers has worked for the last 3 years to do just that. And he has a website. It's called AmericanGulagChronicles.com. That's one of the websites. The other website is J6PatriotNews.com. And you can go there on J6PatriotNews.com. He also tells you how you can write to J6 prisoners who are in jail right now. And you can just write them a message of hope and support. It would do so much to lift their spirits. I have committed to doing that. I am going to do that. When I get back to West Palm Beach this week, I'm going to make that one of my priorities to sit down and write some of the prisoners. There are hundreds of them. Unfortunately, I can't write to them all, but I am going to write to some of them. And you can too. But you can also write to your elected officials, which I also intend to do. And I hope that Donald Trump will free the J6 prisoners very soon after his confirmation or inauguration. But I am told that it has to be done in a way that not only gets them out of jail, but restores their rights and privileges and freedoms to them. So I'm looking forward to that day. And I just want Donald Trump to remain safe. I think that when one of the world leaders say openly and notoriously that Donald Trump is not safe, that we have to take note of that. And so on this weekend of Thanksgiving, as I pray and thank God for the blessings that we've been given, for the gratitude that I have for my wife and three sons, the mom and dad that I had, the life that I've been able to live, and the opportunities that I've had as an American, that they continue for my sons, and so far for my one grandchild, who I've got to spend a lot of time with over the Thanksgiving weekend. I also pray for the safety of the soon to be 47th President of the United States. And I hope that President Trump and his people are taking measures to protect him. Because I'm telling you, this notion that Iran was behind the assassinations, there may be truth to it, but I guarantee you, every instinct I have tells me that they were working hand in hand with the deep state in this country, and that they are the true threat, that they are after Donald Trump, because come January 21st, 2025, they are going to have a rude awakening. I believe that Trump is going to expose them all and expose all these deeds, and that we will get the cleansing that we need in this country, that Bobby Kennedy will help him, that Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk will help him, that Tulsi Gabbard will help him. And I hope that Matt Gaetz has a role in helping him, that we've got an army now that are ready to go out and fight. I'm just telling you, folks, we have won a significant battle, but the fight has only yet begun. We are about to go onto the battlefield. President Trump needs every single one of us, including all those glorious Amish who went out in the state of Pennsylvania and Ohio and voted for Donald Trump. 200,000 of them, and traditionally only 3,000 vote. 90,000 voted this time. I hope you're listening to The Truth, where we come to you in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh every week on the John Fredericks Media Network and on the CD Media digital platforms, on 13 digital platforms around the World Wide Web. This is the truth. I'm John Gordon, and I look forward to continuing to tell you the truth. Just take this word as we're leaving you today. The fight has just begun. We have to continue to fight for our country, for our freedoms, and for our 47th President of the United States. Have a great Thanksgiving weekend, everybody. We'll be back this time next week for another edition of The Truth.